So hopefully I will be recording the right thing. So, okay, first of all, thank you again for coming here. As we always say, money from the bottom to the top has got to stop, which is really our motto. It's not just the money, it's the power, it's the attention, it's the information, it's the control. We've been handing over too much to a very small group of people in every country. It's not only in the West, it's in Africa, in South America, in Asia, everywhere. We got this kind of very pointed pyramid where a very small number of individuals control everything. And this, like our effort with Metanoia, is to really reverse this thing. So in the previous meeting, we looked at how to install a new browser, how to use different search engines, how to start and open a new email address that is not just Gmail or Yahoo Mail or something, and the alternatives to Google Docs and Google Sheets. So I think this is just a reminder that we are here to really take actions. So if you have not had the chance yet, it would be good if you can, just put a reminder for yourself and say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to install a new browser, or I'm going to use a new search engine. And these are small things, right? Very small things, but they're extremely powerful, because if you think all these giants exist because we allow them to exist, but if everybody shifted and used 20 different browsers and 30 different search engines, then there wouldn't be the centralization of power, and we'd be all much better off. Okay. Does anybody have any question on this or any doubt? We might be able to just, I don't know, answer a question if there is a question from last time, or we can just go on.
Is there a recording of that prior meeting available? And
Yes.
Is there tech support available to help make those kinds of changes?
Yes. So we have got a recording. So I will be sending the link. It's on a platform called Odyssey. It's not it's also on YouTube. But if you go on this platform, Odyssey, and you look for Metanoia, we're calling Metanoia 101, all the recordings are going to be here. So there's the full recording. Actually, it's a re-recording of the lessons. And if you actually go here, we have also put a link here to the slides. So the slides are also available directly here. And if you need any support, at the end of the slides, there is this tech support at metanoia.community, and we're happy to help, So if you got any questions, just to remember that there are these resources.
Wonderful. Okay? Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so again, what are our action areas? The first one is obviously, as I always say, is to join a political party and the local association. And we're going to look how it looks like to join a political party or a local association today. The second one is always to buy from small and medium businesses. Ethical banking and investments is extremely important, and we're going to look at it today. The use of alternative technologies and decentralized systems, and then also alternative media and independent journalists, and where we need to support these people that at the end of the day are at the forefront of change and they really need our help. So today's program is we're going to see how to join a political party, which is an experience that I've done myself only in the last year, in the last 12 months, and it was quite interesting. We can learn a little bit about ethical banking and the importance of cash. We will look at an alternative for video calls and meetings. And then we are going to also look at how we can find an alternative to Google Play Store on our mobile phone, which is very important. Alternative to messaging and next steps. Obviously, you might be wondering, okay, why are we having this call on Google Meets? And it's because I wanted to prove 2 points. The first one is that this is a process, so we cannot do all the changes all at once. We can try to change as many things as possible, but we are still connected to the existing system. So, you know, we have to be a little bit forgiving to ourselves. But also, it's because decentralization means that we try different things. So, last call was made on Brave Talk. This talk is made on Google. Next talk is going to be made somewhere else. And Safa, please.
Just on this note, we're using Google Meet, but it's probably going to be the last time, Gabriele.
Exactly.
Because after we've done the research, we realized there's so many other video conferencing services that probably should support other smaller companies. And because this is like on a paid plan, so we're waiting for the plan to end before we can subscribe to another paying service. So yeah, we will diversify, but we will steer away from big corporations.
Yes, yes, exactly. Thank you very much, Safa. So, first topic for today, political parties. I put these number of political parties that are in Italy, which got many. One of them is called the Party of Madness. Very interesting. To show 2 things. First of all, in some countries, right? In some countries, they've only got 1 party, right? In some other countries, they've got 2 parties or 3 parties at most. And in some other countries, there are many, many parties, like 10, 15, 20, 30. And sometimes coalitions in certain countries are made up of 5, 6 different parties. Now, soon after the Second World War, in Italy, which is the example I know very well, but I know that's the same for many other countries around the world, there were many political parties and there was a lot of participation into these parties. I read some statistics about the fact that in the 1950s, something like 20, 25, 30% of the population was subscribed, was part, had a membership in a political party. And that then started to drop. So in Italy, for example, but also I think in France and in many other countries. And that is why, why did that happen? We need to be very clear on the historical context there. This happened because soon after the Second World War, people really understood the cost of war, the cost of the global war that there was, and they say, okay, we really want to be involved in politics and we want to shape our countries. And then what happened was that through economic prosperity that was driven from the top, from things like the Marshall Plan or, you know, different kind of agreements and, you know, trade and associations, the economic situation of people started to improve in many countries, above all in Western Europe and in the US. And this drive to join political parties started to fade out, started to go away because people were comfortable, the economy was rising, everything was great. So people started not to feel the need to join these political parties. Obviously, we know that since the fall of the Soviet Union in 1989, there was a new school of thought that was launched because there was this idea that there isn't anymore the threat of the, you could say, you know, the communist bloc. So the elites in the West started to think, well, our system, the capitalist system, has won. We do not have to have any fear of any competitive system taking hold in Western Europe and in the US. So we can sort of take more and more wealth and don't bother too much with redistributing wealth into the population. And then we got to where we are today, which is where we got an elite that is detached. I mean, not the whole elite is detached. You know, there are some people, even some billionaires, that are trying to change things because they understand that this kind of distortion is not good. But we've got this elite that is quite detached from the people, and they've got very little incentive to listen to us or to think about what our interests are. And politics has been made non-sexy. Like, people started to think, oh, politics is corrupted and I don't want to have anything to deal with it. I want to deal with, my own business or my own career or this or that. But the main problem of doing that is that when you leave the control of politics to other people, someone said, if you don't do politics, politics do you. Which basically means that at the end of the day, if someone else is in control of who is going to get all the big tenders, where the big public money is going to be spent, how education, health, public spaces are going to be organized, then you're going to become a victim of that system. So, despite all the other efforts that we can do, boycotts are very important, localizing our shopping is very important, changing our tech platform is very important. But I really do believe that joining a political party is important. And, basically you win the local elections, then you or your party go to, national election. And then once you get into the parliament, then you get the chance to change the laws. So once a new administration is in power in any country, then it's in power until that government falls. And that can be 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, depending on how long do they last. So what I want to focus in this message today is that we all, like everybody, should be taking part to politics. We all should be joining a political party, being a member, at least, being in their group chats, and help to shape the political discourse. Now, for me, yes, please, Safa. Hello? Safa, did you raise your hand? No. I think perhaps there was a problem with the line. Okay, so how do you join a political party? Well, the first thing you do is you have to look for a political party. So in my case, I can tell you what happened. In my case, what I did was I more or less knew that there were various political parties in Italy. And I knew that the Greens, in my case, were those that were very aligned with my values, because they are very worried about the environment, but they also want peace. They don't want to sell weapons. They don't want to provoke wars or support war-making nations. So I looked for Europa Verde, in this case, which means Green Europe. I went onto their website. Obviously, this is all in Italian, won't make much sense. I read their manifesto, their idea, and then I say took part. But, if you're based, for example, in the US, one thing you could do is you could join the Green Party there, gp.org. And obviously, it doesn't have to be the Green Party. It can be any party that you feel is aligned with your values. But I think it's very important that you actually join the party and you read a little bit. You read a little bit about the Green New Deal. You read a little bit, the various causes they are supporting. And then you can become a supporter, or you can become a member. And what you can expect then is that there will be local associations. In some cases, they've got local associations. In some places, they do not have local associations, but they will have an association at the state level or province level or region level. And then you will have meetings with them, and then you will start to talk. You will start to learn. Very important to learn how politics works, because most of it is how you're going to get the seats. Because if you join, for example, a left party, a left-wing party, or a green party, obviously you are worried about the environment and you don't want wars. So then the question becomes more, how are you going to get the seats that allow to put your people in charge in a certain state or in a certain region? Be ready to do compromises. Nothing is straightforward in politics. So we all need to be able to make compromises. In terms of accepting different people, personalities, we are new people that are joining established organizations. But do it. It's really good experience. These people also are important. It's important to get into a political party to have some protection, because if you're active if you're an activist and you are also part of a political party, the political parties, even if they're small, they've been involved with politics, with power, with laws, with the legislations, with judges, with the lawyers all their lives. So they will be able to give you the support that you might need. Okay. And before we go, some people may think, oh, well, but those parties will never win. Those parties that get 2% or 5% or 6% or 7%. Well, that might be true in some cases, above all, like in the UK or in the US, where there are very strong, 2 parties or 3 party system. However, I can tell you that there are examples, also in recent history, where things have changed very fast. So we need to be ourselves the first that believe that change can happen before we can expect others to join. So I wouldn't discount small parties, and actually the smaller parties are those where you can have a bigger impact, because in the next few weeks, months, and years, there's going to be such a big change, and those that will be the early joiner of a political party in each one of your own, countries, are going to be those that have got a chance to shape the direction of a party that probably will become very important. Okay. So action time for now. I give everybody 2-3 minutes to just do a little bit of a search, or put a note for yourself, and perhaps we can talk about these while people are looking for parties and how to join. Yeah, Hanan?
Actually, I'd like to think loudly. Yesterday, I was a co-speaker on an event where I met Elżbieta Halamova, and one of the speakers that joined me was a member of DM25.
Okay, yeah, the very good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. I didn't know that, and I need to reach out to this man and ask him about its existence here in the Czech Republic, because as I know, it is only in Germany and Italy, right?
It's growing. It's growing.
Yeah, so this is one option. I just wanted to share this, that I just realized that, and I believe that this is one of the movements that is worthy looking at.
Yes, DM25, it's very good. I think they're going to have a meeting in July in Belgrade, in Serbia. It's going to be, I think, the 7th or the 9th of July, and it's headed by the Greek finance minister, the previous Greek finance minister, who has got a very clear understanding of the whole, of the whole situation.
Yes, Yanis Varoufakis.
Yes, you can pronounce his surname. That's good.
Yeah, I love him.
That's good. Anybody else wants to add anything else, or any questions on, or any doubt, because you might have doubts. Yeah, please, Safa.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So my question is, if you live in a country where you're not national of that country, should you join a party of the country you're residing in, or a party from your home country?
Oh, that's a very good one. I would say the one where you're a citizen, right? Where you can actually vote, and then perhaps in the local country where you're living, then you can join associations. But obviously, as as when I was in the UK and I wasn't a citizen, I couldn't vote. So from political purposes, that would be irrelevant.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I've had that dilemma in the past. Okay, anybody else? Okay, let's move to the next one. So just make a note for yourself to say, okay, I want to join a political party, or if you cannot join a political party, an association. There are plenty of associations, and just go there, support them. And it's both for the benefit of association or the party and for all your benefit, because at the end of the day, people that are doing things will need to have some sort of legal protection, and being part of a bigger organization that is in politics is going to help. Now, next one is ethical banking and investments. Now, let's go quickly over this one. Traditional banks have been historically giving a lot of money to fossil fuels and to established powers and to the military-industrial complex. So every time every one of us has got an account with a mainstream bank, we are probably financing war. That's as simple as that. And we're probably financing fossil fuel. So we are basically financing the very people that want to oppress us and limit us. But there are other options, and there are things called ethical banks. Again, as I'm in Italy, and I only can, I'm happy to talk about these kind of things only from what I've got direct experience of. In Italy, there is a company, a bank called Banca Etica, and it does not invest in weapons, it does not invest in wars, and it does not invest in fossil fuel. It's a full bank, like you got your debit card, your credit card, your current account, you can make payments, you can receive payments. And the good thing about this is that, first of all, this one is very democratic. So each account holder, if he wants, can put 300 euros and get a vote, so become a shareholder for 300 euros. But it doesn't mean that if you got, €1 million, you got more votes. So there is one vote per shareholder, and each shareholder can put 300 euros. They invest in regeneration projects, and they're a very solid choice for Italy. And what I really want you to do, just make a note for yourself, because this will take some time to research. In each country, there are banks that are better than others. I have seen that there are some cooperative banks, or some local banks, or some ethical banks, or some ethical investments, or some, different kind of banking. So what you really want to think about is, okay, do I want my money to stay in the system that we are trying to fight? Or am I going to actually inform myself, go through the pain of going to an appointment, have an appointment, understand the bank ethics, and then open an account and do a shift? And obviously, it doesn't have to be done all of a sudden. You can at least, but you could plan, or you could start to research, because sometimes changing bank can be challenging, like moving the direct debits, or if you got a mortgage or something. But if you ask for a consultancy to a different bank, they will probably give you ideas on what you can do, how you can change, and basically take money away from these systems. Because, if 100,000 people move bank, and all of a sudden, we saw that in the UK with the boycott of Barclays. Barclays lost a lot of customers in the UK, and that has put pressure on them. But we don't want to be in the position where we say, oh, we need to put pressure on them. No, we just want them to disappear. So what we need to do is we need to encourage ourselves and the people around and everybody to switch to smaller local alternatives. And for Europe, at least, I can say that any bank that is part of an interbanking system will guarantee your savings up to 86,000 euros. Because sometimes people are worried, oh, I've got 20,000 euros, 30,000 euros, and if the bank goes bankrupt because it's a small bank, will I lose my savings? Well, if they are part of this interbanking system, guarantee fund it's called, if a bank fails, the other banks will bail out the account holders. So your savings will be safe. So do your research and start to think about this point. Any questions or comments on this? Yep, Safa.
So I guess banking would be different from investing. So what about like investing in stocks and in the stock market?
Yes. With investing, depending on what I put the point there, obviously we're going to look at it more in detail probably in the next meeting. But it's just something that we can start to think about, which is there are also ethical investments. There are, portfolio systems where you can invest in things that don't invest, for example, in fossil fuels or weapons. And also the platform you use, it's very important, One of the platforms that became very popular was eToro, which got lots of tractions, but then we found out that it's not really, a good platform in terms of location and systems it supports. So what the point here is that everything we do, we really need to think critically, because if there is convenience, there is usually a catch with that.
Because in my case, I think it would be easier for me to switch to investment platforms than to switch banks.
Yes.
It's just easier, like you sell your portfolio and then you move to another account. Whereas banks, because a lot of things are interlinked, it can take a longer time and a longer process.
Exactly. And that is a very important point. This is a process. It's not something that we're going to do overnight. I mean, we are all doing still things that are part of an old system because we just do not have enough time, energy, money to process all the changes all at once. But we just have to set the intention to go through a path whereby perhaps, in 1 year or in 2 years, we will have changed bank. But it's important that we set that intention and we do everything we can. And we might not be able to do everything, but, if every person does 20% or 30% of what we can, then the system will already have changed. Okay. So the next one is alternative for video calls. I mean, obviously, we're going to use different systems. The problem with video calls and using always the same platforms is that, again, we're giving all our information to all these platforms, and that's not good. So there are some alternatives. There is Jitsi, which is from the US, and the company is a company called 8x8, but it's open source, and there are some self-hosted solutions. There is Zoho, which is Indian. There is Lark Suite, which is a Singapore, but it needs the download of some software on the computer. There is TrueConf, and actually there are many. We were doing a little bit of research. I've used Jitsi in the past. If you go on this link. I will just show you how it looks. So I go on this link. You can just start a meeting. Okay. Okay, we can call meeting 1. Okay. Okay. And then you can just click and start a meeting, and then you can book a meeting, you can schedule a meeting. And to get into this, obviously I'm not going to press this because otherwise it will crash with my camera and microphone because we are already on a meeting. But on this one, you just need a GitHub account, and you can just create an account. So obviously when you do this, I will show you, it will ask you obviously to do this. And when you try to join, it might tell you, oh, have you got a Google account? And obviously we don't want to create a Google account. We want to close a Google account, but you can have a GitHub account. So you just look for the other alternatives, and you can then create your own account. So again, this is just an example of when you've got something that you want to do, think about the alternative. Like let's not just default to what we've been indoctrinated to use, because we are always handing over all our information and over everything. So I put here is the action time, but obviously we cannot do this action because we are already on the call. Has any of you had experience with other platforms that are not Google Meets or Zoom or Teams? I think we tried Brave Talk, right? Discord, very good point. Do you want to say more about Discord, Rita? Because it's something that I've not explored myself.
And Gabriele, we tried Meet Hour last week.
Yeah.
That's another option.
Yeah, Meet Hour is also a good one. Yeah, Thomas, please.
There is also this app called Didi. It's Chinese.
Didi, D-I-D-I.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Is it free?
It's free, yes.
Oh,
Oh.
okay. Okay, Didi free app download. Okay, that's very interesting. We're going to save this one. So I think this raises really the point that there are so many different platforms, and we really want, above all, when it comes to give money to someone, let's explore smaller options. Let's help smaller developers. Yeah, please, Rita.
Yeah, hey, Rita here.
Hey.
Yes, so Discord, I actually only know it through, the gaming community because I'm a bit of a gamer. And so you have multiple servers that are on there, and you can use it for chat and also for video calls and meetings. I haven't used it a lot myself. So because I haven't used it so much, I find it myself a little bit tricky to use.
Okay.
Not the most user-friendly, but that's a me issue and not necessarily a Discord issue. So I'm also 50 plus, so that could also have something to do about it.
That's good. I didn't know this. It's
Yeah.
You see that's the nice.
Also, many. I know that I can imagine that some of the people in this chat might be following some special YouTube channels, for instance, via the app Patreon, for instance, to support them financially. And I know that many of these channels, they have chats available on Discord as well, but it's not something that I have made a lot of use of myself.
Okay. No,
Yes.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
it's good, you know. Jitsi was my brother who told me, well, why are you using, actually when I sent out this email, he said, why are you using Google Mail, Google Meet? That goes against the whole thing. Use Jitsi. And then I did the research on Jitsi, and they say, okay, yes, it's still big and corporate, but the idea is that we could have a meeting on one platform, and then a meeting on another platform, and then a meeting on another platform, and we don't have to fossilize ourselves, right? We don't have to be stuck on one thing. That is the point, right?
Like, can we support smaller companies, smaller enterprises, and maybe European? I don't know. I don't want to trigger any political discussion on this, you know, given the current political situation, but maybe smaller companies and more European, non-US.
I would say, you know, local in general, because, you know, there will also be some very great programmers in the US that are trying to start doing something, or, you know, some people in India or some people somewhere else. And we just want to support the small groups that are trying to fight against these giants wherever they are, you know. I mean, I don't know if there are other in China, but we will explore that one. Okay, right. So now this one is the interesting one, right? So, and this one has taken me a while to figure it out. So I want to share with you all this information, which is very interesting. My phones have always have Android. So if you got iOS, sorry, I don't know that system. I'm not an expert. So perhaps next time someone can prepare some slides about how to do what I'm going to describe for Android on iOS. So on an Android phone, on your phone, you will have a thing called Google Play. And okay, perfect. Ding, ding. So on your phone, on Android, you're going to have a Google Play. And Google Play is the central repositories of apps that you can access. So if you want to download your banking app, your email app, your browser, TikTok, whatever, WhatsApp, Messenger, Signal, you will have to go through the Google Play Store. And to get into the Google Play Store, you need a Google account. Now, this for me has always been a problem, because I've always been very jealous of my contact list. You know, I don't want anybody to know my contacts. But with the mobile phone, Google have got you always signed in. When the first time you sign in, they say, oh, should we backup your data and your contacts safely on the cloud? And then you say, oh, yes, let's do that. And then you might give by mistake some consent to track you and give you marketing preferences and whatever. And eventually you end up with a phone that you might pay a few €100, and it's not yours, or it's basically a tracking device. You know, it's the dream of the Gestapo, of the secret police. It's like, you're always tracked. You're always there. The moment you are online, you've got 4G connection, Wi-Fi connection. Google knows that you're online, that user is online. And then when a new contact is added to your contact list, it's added on Google online. And they all say, oh, yes, it's good, it's nice, it's encrypted. And then every now and then there is a big scandal, and you find out that, the military or big tech are leaking data and sending data. So we can start with an assumption that we cannot trust them, obviously, because these are corporations, politicians, and systems that simply lie. So everything they say, it's just a lie. It's not true. So how do we get out from this system? And I finally found that there is, for Android, a very interesting thing called F-Droid, which is basically like Google Play Store. I will show you this one. It's basically a catalog of free and open source software. Okay, so if you go to this website, fdroid.org, and you go to download F-Droid from your mobile phone, you can actually download this catalog of free and open source software. Now, how does it work? Usually when you install things from the Google Play Store, right? I just want to show you this, Google Play Store. If you go on the Google Play Store, what you will have is list. It's a list of apps. So you just click on the app, like you can see, for example, I don't know, here. You click on this app and you install it. And the Google Play, the Android system will not give you any warning, anything, because obviously these are apps that are on the Google Play Store. So they've been checked, you know, by Google, you know, by the governments, by everybody else. And they're safe in the sense that there are no viruses, not in the sense that they make you safe. Obviously, when you press here and you go to download F-Droid, what you're actually downloading, if you look at the bottom of the page, it's a file called an APK, which is basically an executable file from your phone. It's like when you download the software on your PC and you want to install it. Okay, the APK is the equivalent of the EXE on your computer. And the system might give you a warning because they say, well, we don't know F-Droid, we have not given the okay, so it might be corrupted, whatever. Obviously, that's just a safety thing that they put to avoid people just downloading random apps and installing random apps on their phones, right? But obviously, F-Droid, it's safe. And after that, from F-Droid, once you've got this installed, you've got a catalog of apps that you can install. And these are apps that are free and open source and might not be present on the Google Play Store. So what you can do, for example, from F-Droid, so with this one, you got access. Okay, any questions on this before we move on? Because this might be a little bit tricky. Is this clear how you download F-Droid, the pros, the cons? Have you got any questions on this?
It doesn't delete or remove Google Play, right? You can still
No,
have
it doesn't. It doesn't. They run one next to the other.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Then the question after I installed F-Droid was, okay, that's very good that I've got a repository of apps that might not be on Google Play Store, but how do I actually remove, log out of Google Play Store? So how can I be logged out from Google Play Store and still have my banking app be updated from a reliable source? You know, that is the big question for me. I use mobile phone for banking. So obviously I need my mobile banking app to be safe, but also to be updated, right? These two things. But I don't want also to tell everything to Google that also wanted me to sign in through their system on my banking app so that they know how much money I've got, you know? So the solution for that, it's a thing called Aurora Store, which is approved by Android, approved by Google itself. So if you go on F-Droid, you can download this Aurora Store. Okay. I've downloaded it from F-Droid. And by downloading this Aurora Store, let me open it here because it might have some. Yeah. Let me just show it from here. It's easier. So once you download the Aurora Store, you download it and you install it. It's better if you install it from F-Droid. So if you go in F-Droid and you look for Aurora Store, you can install it. And basically, with this Aurora Store, then at that point, you have got, it's an interface, basically, that gives access to all the apps that are on the Google Play Store, but allows you not to log in. So at that point, then, you do not need anymore the Google Play Store to be logged in. You could log out from your Google Play Store, and through Aurora Store, you can update all your apps, okay? Now, obviously, what you want to do, and I'm going to suggest you do a little bit of research, you read the slides and you look at things. What I did personally was I backed up all my contacts on my device, because they also create these very complicated things where your contacts are sometimes saved on your phone, sometimes saved on the cloud. And then if you're not connected, the phone number doesn't appear as a name. They create all these mixed systems that make it very complicated. Then you want to try to decouple yourself from Google to think, okay, what are the apps that are actually actively using a Google account? You move the information and data on other services. And after a few days, you can go to settings on your Android phone, accounts or user accounts, Google, and then you do remove account, okay? So, I mean, I actually did this one before doing anything else. So I first removed the Google account, which actually you can then log in again. So, you could actually remove your Google account, which means that basically your synchronization with the Play Store is not there anymore. And then you can do everything else, okay? By doing this, by having F-Droid and Aurora Store installed on your phone and the Google account removed, it's not like you're going to achieve the nirvana of privacy, because Google is still running services on backgrounds and things. But at least you're not actively telling Google, hey, I'm online. Hey, I've added this new person. Hey, I've had this email. Hey, I've done this, because we know that Google now, as we speak, is in a compromised system. It's part of a compromised set of companies that are actively going against our interests. So it would be insane to, just for the sake of convenience, to continue to feed these systems. So, action time and questions. I mean, I'm sure there are lots of questions on this point, because it's a complicated one. Took me a while to get my head around. Thomas, have you had experience with this before, out of curiosity?
You mean me?
Yeah.
Never. But
Okay.
I use some alternative apps to download applications. I have the Russian Rooster and the Chinese Xiaomi Get apps. But that's only good for apps in their corresponding languages.
Yes. The Xiaomi one is also good. And I think the problem is that sometimes we get fixed, I mean, I'm not someone who is very expert with mobile phones. So it took me a while to understand, okay, there are app stores, there are different things, but we can do it. It's doable. I mean, at the end of the day, it's download one thing, download the other, remove some things, save the contacts locally, and that's it. And Safa?
So, about saving the contacts locally, you mean like on the phone itself?
Well, I've done actually three things. I've made, first of all, I made a copy of all the contacts from online to the phone. Then I did the backup copy, because you can actually export all your contact in a file. There is the option if you look through the menus. And I made a backup of a file on an encrypted location online, so that, if my phone dies, I've got all my contacts anyway backed up. And with contacts, I usually also write them down on a piece of paper, well, on an agenda, because, if there are some contacts that if I lose the mobile phone and the address, they're gone. I wouldn't have any way to recover them. So I always do these kind of three backups, on the phone, online, in an encrypted location, and on paper.
Because I'm looking at my Google contacts and there's about 1,300 people. You know, like I've accumulated the contacts over the years. So
Yeah. Yeah, in that case, what you do is you export that one, that file from, you can actually log online. You can export that as a contact file, and then you can re-import them, and then you make a safe copy somewhere else.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's not going to be easy. It has been designed so that it's convenient. That is the thing.
Yeah, I mean, Google was very smart in this. Like, we gave so much information. We let our lives be run by Google, like Google Calendar, Google Contacts, Google this, Google that, passwords, bank card, number, everything. Like, they have everything, and the pictures of family and all the, birthday parties. And so while I'm doing this detox kind of like process, I was like, oh my God, like literally, like my life was run on Google.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's interesting to de-Google our lives.
Yes. For me, the breaking point was many years ago when I found out that Google knew where I was, I don't know, on the 14th of March, 2014 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, you don't need to know that, really don't. So that level of intrusiveness, is really concerning. Right. Any more questions on this, or we move next to the...
Rana has her hand up.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Rana.
Yeah, just in the meantime, if we can't or we don't, remove Google altogether, can't we just, I'm always like picking the settings, that you turn off location, turn off, all these tracking things. I think it's just that you have to actively choose, like the default is that it tracks, unless you know to go and click to not track, basically. So yeah, most people don't know that it automatically tracks.
Yes, obviously that is something that I've done myself for a while in the past.
Does it still track even if I pick this option?
Well, it might not track your location with the GPS, but you connect on a Wi-Fi and it knows the location of the IP address of the Wi-Fi or your cell tower, whatever. So all these things that work on that are free, they're just collecting as much data as possible. That is the point. That is the whole model. Like there was someone who say, when you don't pay for the product, you are the product. And the customers are the big tech and the governments and the corporations. So, but yeah, it's I think it's a first step. As we say, these things take time. It took me some time to move from Gmail to another email. It takes time to go through the mails, clean them up, copy them on another location. We're going to see that next week, how we can easily move all the mails in bulk from an account to another account. You don't have to forward them one by one. You can, just move them in bulk. So I will show that next week. Okay, now, are we happy to proceed on the next one? Okay. Now, this is the controversial one that has been interesting for me and I think for everybody else. It's the messaging app, because they've been replacing the phone calls, the emails, and everything else. And there was a little bit of an alarm bell for me a few years ago when Edward Snowden came out, with all the information about the NSA and all of that. And then obviously in the last 2 years, there's been an even bigger, alarm bells when you start to read, that Meta WhatsApp is used to kill targets, and they get drones to find and fire people depending on their location based on WhatsApp metadata. I've even had dreams, nightmares about this. You get located by a WhatsApp message because you didn't pay the Domino's delivery, and you get shot. So WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, these are the usual apps that people use. And obviously WhatsApp is on my Meta. They collect all the information. By default, now they've got an AI thing that if you go on your search bar, they will get your information. They might be, reading through your data. You cannot trust Meta. You cannot trust Facebook. Is as well as it's not encrypted. As far as I'm concerned, anything we say there or write there is not encrypted. Telegram used to be a decent alternative, but the owner of the inventor got arrested in France a few months ago, and then was in prison for a few weeks with no charges, and then he was released. So we can assume that that one has been compromised. Thank you, Hanan. And Signal was started by the CIA, actually, as a software to support guerrilla groups in countries where they wanted to overthrow the governments. Then they realized that it was getting so good that it also was used by people that were going against the US government. And now it's still, anyway, a US-based foundation. And okay, they say that they rely on donations and this and that, but, it's in a system that, as we say, is now compromised. So, there could be an infiltration, there could be anything. That means that we don't know. Now, what is the solution? In reality, there is no solution, in the sense that we just have to accept that anything we say or write or do online, if it's not tracked, it's at least trackable, okay? So unless you bought the PC in cash from a small store and you're connecting through, I don't know, a Linux installation on a wireless Wi-Fi, open Wi-Fi in a square, wearing a hood, you're going to be tracked. So the first point is you accept that there is no privacy. But the second point is we want to diversify, because if everybody is using one app, it's very easy to make a very massive database and have these artificial intelligence gathering the data and doing things. But if people are using, 100 different messaging apps with different protocols and different servers and, all these kind of things, it becomes quite expensive, They still can track you if they really want. But in reality, it becomes so impractical that they're not going to do that. So my suggestion here is to experiment with alternatives. And one that I'm experimenting with recently, it's a thing called Conversations.im, which, by the way, you can install for free from F-Droid. So if you're on F-Droid, you should be able to download it for free. What was your experience with it, Safa? Were you able to install it for free from F-Droid?
I haven't tried since I paid for it on Google Play. So you guys,
Okay.
it's important to know that you can get it for free because I paid for it on Google Play.
Mm.
But so far, Gabriela, you're the only person I speak to on Conversations.
I know. We need to push for more people to, to switch. I'm actively trying to move everybody that I know from WhatsApp to Conversations.
Because before they get Conversations, they need to go through the process of getting F-Droid, Aurora, this and that.
It's
it's not like straightforward.
It's not straightforward. Yes, that is the problem. But we can expect that the more people we use it, the more straightforward it will become. Or you could also look in the way that it's good because it's not straightforward and, mass surveillance. So there are pros and cons.
Mm.
The good one of this one, obviously, if you're going to talk with your plumber, you're not going to tell him, let's get on Conversations. I mean, I might try, but, It's
But it works differently since it's not linked to a phone number. So it's completely different from WhatsApp.
exactly, and that's very good. That's a very good point that you're mentioning. That with WhatsApp you are connecting the phone number with all your conversations, with everything that you say to people. With Conversations, instead, you can create an account from any. You can make up an account, so if an email and the phone number, password, and then you connect with someone else through their email that they've created to connect, so their account name. So that already gives you a level of protection because there is no clear association between a phone number and the person. The other good thing is that it's decentralized, which means that like when you send something on WhatsApp, it goes on a WhatsApp server, and all the data is crunched and says, Gabri talked with his brother for an hour, and they were talking on WhatsApp, and I started to think, well, why don't I call him? I got 3 calls on my phones. Why am I using this very bad 4G line, 5G line? It is not working very well. I can just give him a standard phone call. At least it's the Italian government that knows that I called my brother. It's not WhatsApp, right? It's also open source, this one, and community driven, and it's user friendly. Well, up to a certain point. And let's see if we can. Well, okay. So my suggestion would be, once you've installed F-Droid, install also Conversations and send us an email, and we will give you the email to connect with us, because I think it's important that many people start to use different ones. But if you don't particularly like Conversations, that's fine. Use another one and ask people to move to a different platform, because we don't want everybody to be on the same platform. That is the point. If if any government wants to see what I'm writing on Conversations, I'm pretty sure they can in 5 nanoseconds. But it's important to differentiate. Yeah, Safa.
Did you find a solution for having conversations on the computer? Because that's the thing. Like, I use WhatsApp a lot for work, and I use it on computer.
What I do is, and I can show you this live, is I go to this website. It will be on Odyssey. It will be here, Rita. It will be on Odyssey. If you look for Metanoia 101, there's going to be the recording, and then you can find 001, 002, the various lessons. Okay. So to access di niente. Ah, sei italiana. Buona giornata. So to access it online, the beauty of Conversations is this, that, for example, there is this mov.im, which is a website, and basically you can log in here. I show you how you log in. Sorry, let's say that you disconnect. So you just put your username, someone else, at conversations.im, and then you put your password, and basically you connect here, and then you've got your chats here, and you chat and you talk with people. Okay, so that's how I'm doing, because I do the same with WhatsApp. I just link device and use it in the browser. I don't know, I haven't looked if there is an app like that you can actually install. I'm sure there is, but usually I use it from the browser, because in that way I can, I close the session, I close the browser, and I'm out. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So try that. Any more questions on this, or it's all clear? Okay. Okay, so next time we are going to talk about some few more things, which I think are quite interesting. First one, I want to show you how you can install Linux Ubuntu, which is a version of Linux that is free, but it's also well tested. It's got a lot of software, and it's the only operating system I'm actually using on my personal computers. Okay, so on this one, this is my work computer I'm using, but most of my personal computers where I do my own things are on Linux. We're going to talk about why it's important to buy local, to avoid big corporate companies, and why it's important to try and use cash as much as possible, because there is a big push to move to digital currencies and to avoid paper. And we see where this is going, because obviously the moment there is no more cash and the market goes crazy and the bank is close to fail, you might lose everything and there is no recourse. We're also going to look at some alternative media outlets, which are, I think it's important to put them into the conversation, because we're all fed all this information from BBC and CNN and MCBC and Repubblica and all these mainstream media. So we want to go and see how we can find some non-mainstream media, and why it's important to basically avoid the mainstream media, because when you start to look at the alternative media where they give you the facts, you realize that mainstream media, above all now in the West, has become mainly propaganda. It's either propaganda or they are articles that are implanted by security services to promote certain agendas of the top 1%. And then this section or next session, we might talk about matrix detox. This is something that Hanan wanted to talk about. And then Safa will talk about expertise, which is a very interesting project that she's been working on for a while now. Do you want to say something quickly about expertise, Safa? Also, so that
Sure. So Expertise is a mobile app that's available on Apple Store and Play Store, not yet on F-Droid.
That's fine, we forgive
I'll
you.
work on that. And it's an app connecting experts to clients through live video consultation. So basically, clients can contact an expert, could be like a coach or teacher or someone to help out with the specific task, and request their help online through live video consultation. So you, as a user, you can book experts online, or you could also register as an expert and offer your services there. To register on the app, it's free. There is no paid subscription. There is no commission that we charge you. We charge 20% commission to clients on your hourly rate, and you fix your own hourly rate. So if you need any information, definitely contact me. And yeah, I mean, it's a very young company. It's independent, and I think that's why Gabriele is mentioning it. It's again about supporting small enterprises.
Exactly. I think it's important that we really, I think, need to refine that. There was a certain beauty in the early 2000s, late 90s in the internet, that where everything was very random. And there were all these strange websites and these strange apps. I mean, there is just something not really relevant. There is an app made by a German guy, I think, which is called Xenolink, and it's got the face of an alien, a very early 2000 interface that you can use on websites to check broken links. And it still works, and it's great. And it's still here. It was written by a guy who made the software, and it works. Now, I think we want to sort of go back to that level of relearning things, because what we are fed now by the internet, if you're using Google or Bing or these big things, they're just making the internet and reality narrower and narrower. You've got some color palettes. You've got some specific software, you've got some specific language, you've got some specific media outlets. But if we go back in time, I mean, and obviously I think those that are of us that were born in at least in the 80s, you know, not for those born in the 90s, perhaps, that has been already a little bit compromised, perhaps. But there was a reality made of different things with a lot of variety. I mean, from the artisan arts that you can find in the local market in the late 80s, to the book with the special cover, to the handwritten things. There was a certain beauty to that. And there was also the same kind of things on the internet. And then it has been all engineered, centralized, made very cold and sterile. And doesn't have to be like that. There are like many exciting things, exciting projects, and we just need to have the open mind and re-decentralize everything. Okay. Oh, someone wants to join this call. Might be Julie. Okay, it's a bit late to join. Okay.
Mohammed. Moaz.
Yes. Hi, Mohammed Moaz. Sorry, we are coming at the end of the call, actually.
I just received this message. Sorry.
Yeah, but I will send you. We will send you the link. So if you can we send this on the chat? How do we do it? Yeah, I still don't know the.
You want to send what link?
Perhaps we can just send these. Is it this? Let's see. Yeah. Okay. You will be able to find the recording of this video on this link. Okay. So, does anybody want to add anything? I mean, how was it? Was it useful? Was it interesting? What did you do differently? Oh, thank you very much, Safa. So many, so much approbation. René, Rana, Thomas, John, Elzbieta.
I think it's a very good idea to try new apps outside of the mainstream.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You certainly use the Xiaomi store, so you got a lot of interesting things.
Well, I think also because it can get overwhelming, I think we could just take it one step at a time.
Yes.
And not feel like we have to do it all now. But like you said, it's a process. Like I want to do it all now, like in a click, but it's time consuming, right? So
exactly. It takes time, and we just have to accept that it's a process. And let's remember the first point. The first point is, if we can, let's try to join political parties, because that is going, to really help us change things at many different levels. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, everybody. So we're going to have the next meeting on next Thursday, same time. And I hope to see you around and invite other people, and let's keep this going. Thank you very much. And
Thank you so much.
thank you,
Thank you.
Gabriele, for your work. And thank you, everyone, for attending.
thank you very much. Okay, we stop recording.